So the first thing we're gonna do is change sides. If somebody starts to get a grip on your arm, and it doesn't have to be above the elbow, by the way. Above the elbow is the worst because the articulation that I now have is completely gone. He's got the direct lever to my shoulder, so it's very difficult for me to even correct my center of gravity. Once I'm this deep, I'm in deep shit. It's this that is kind of like workable, where I can still shift my center of gravity to the back corner to make it difficult for him to roll me over. When that occurs, like if I've got my arm like not so shallow that he can't grab it, but not so deep that he's above the elbow, as long as I'm keeping, so let's rotate just a little bit this way. I'm keeping my knee by his, and it can be like the side of my leg, but basically I have to be blocking this shin to some degree, and I've got to keep my hip / ribs, again, height differences, it'll kind of depend, you know, near enough to his hips, because if I commit too far back here, then I lose everything, right? He just goes to guard. So we're trying to stay offensive without overcommitting in a way that where we're going to get reversed. So I'm blocking this, which means he has to try to sit and cut underneath me. And if I still do nothing, he may actually still reverse me. So that act of cutting underneath me is what I'm counting on him to do. Let's just move up a little bit. So I get to here, I'm going like this. I've got base with my right hand, I've got base with my right leg. I'm even trying to pull him a little bit out of base. As he commits his weight, I'm moving to this side. And you can see how, let's turn here. You can see how Rory managed to just barely get this leg to block me. This is not a big deal if it happens. We just climb over top and we can kind of pursue from there. But what I'm ideally trying to get is as soon as Rory starts to commit, is I'm staying by his hips, but moving my legs free of his legs and pretty much getting the side control. Although ideally, lift this, I will have motorcycle gripped him. We'll talk about the motorcycle grip in subsequent videos, but ideally I will have done that as well. But if not, no big deal. I'm here, I'm over top of the legs. This hand is almost always going to be somehow open. We'll talk about what to do with it later on, but this is the most important thing, is just knowing, let's go back again, that when somebody starts to sit, that as long as my hips stay connected, or my torso stays connected, my legs can move, my hand provides me base, and I become mobile in a way where I've now moved him into basically side control or a continuation of the back attack. Because it's a given that as his hip starts to descend, this leg will kind of be in my way, but as long as I am actually able to move and keep my hip connected, and this is the really important part, is I'm not jumping, I'm not going like this, because now I've accelerated that center of gravity shift. I've raised my center of gravity in contrast to my limb, which is still controlled, so I'm gonna become really top heavy, and I can still very much be rolled over. So I am not going up like this, because now there's a big space underneath me for Rory to occupy and try to chunk me. What I am doing is keeping my hips connected and moving my feet, but I'm staying sucked in. So there I end up in almost a leg drag position. Hips like magnets is a good phrase to remember here, or ribs like magnets sort of thing. So I'm here like this, not lifting my hips, keeping my hip tight, and just moving my legs around. So that change of direction can happen once and you just settle them, or it'll happen where, if we go real slow here, as I move, where he's sitting, he recognizes that he's in deep shit and he pops back up. And now we're back into double unders territory, and we'll talk about what we can do from there in subsequent videos. But the idea is, oftentimes it's a one and done, but against more active, more fit, and more skilled people, as they recognize you're beating them, they will immediately pop back up and still try to recover some form of turtle, which will actually create an opening for you to attack. So against better people, it's actually a really viable form of attack.